welcome to another Chelsea chat.
So, yesterday it was Newcastle United 1, Chelsea 0. When the team sheet came out, I had concerns because I thought to myself, we're going to be very narrow with no out-and-out wingers. I also don't think that Mount and Gallagher are really number 10s. I'd say they were both 8s. Maybe Gallagher's a bit more of a 10. I had concerns, but you know what I liked about it? I thought to myself, at least with players like Lewis Hall and Brozier in the side, you're going to get the effort that I like to see. You're going to get 100% effort. And we did. And I think sometimes you've just got to look at a match, look at a team, look at your club and say we are just not good enough at the moment. I think we're comparing sides. I went on social media last night. I had 2 bottles of wine and about 3 or 4 beers, and I've gone back on this morning like that, you know. I can see why people are frustrated. I don't think it's Potter's fault. I don't think he's helping himself. I mean, yesterday he's got to be able to see that we have got to deal with a high press by looking at Newcastle's games before. We've struggled against Leeds, high press, even to a certain extent against Salzburg. When teams high press us, we're right playing out from the back, but the trouble is we get into offensive positions and then for one reason or another, and I don't know why it is, we pass sideways or backwards. That's the way I see it anyway. Let me know what you think. But I think the trouble is we've got no magic in the side like we used to have. We've got no world-class players. I think there's an argument, I know other teams would argue, but I think there's an argument that at one time the spine of our side, certainly Peter Cech was world-class. John Terry at one time was world-class. When I say world-class, they can fit into any other team in the world. Any other team in the world would want them. Because I think there's a level above world-class, your Messis and your Ronaldos, your Pelés, your Cruyffs, your George Bests. Any team, your Maradonas, any team in the world would want them in their side. Lampard, wouldn't say he was world class, but he was a very, very, very good player. And there'd be an argument if someone said, "Oh no, I think he's world class." I couldn't really argue with you. At one time, Lampard would have, any team in the world would have snapped your hand off for him. And of course, Drogba, again, if he's not world class, he's very, very, very near it. But I look around that side now, and there's only Reece James that looks like he could actually get to that level. Players, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the World Cup, players aren't producing. Mason Mount has been our player of the year for the last 2 seasons. This season, all bar 2 games, he's been horrible. Havertz, we've had flashes. He was good against Zagreb, but in the Premier League this year, he has been absolutely pants. And yesterday, I was looking at them. Newcastle haven't got the individual ability that we have in probably 6 or 7 positions. Probably only 4 of their players get into our team. But those around them know exactly what they're doing. And I think to do that in just over a year, Eddie Howe's done brilliantly. They all know what they're doing. They know where they should be. Our lot look like a bunch of players who, for whatever reason, had to put up with certain players down in tools under a manager. The manager getting sacked, the owner getting sanctioned, and so some of the deals that, because negotiating contracts is like poker. You get these people saying, "Oh, you should have done that you should have signed Rudiger up last September." Yeah, you should. But his expectations kept changing. I personally think he wanted to go to Real Madrid from the start. But his expectations, his agent kept up in what he wanted. And at the end of the day, contract negotiation is like a game of poker. So we'll never know if he would have signed. But sanctions came in. We lost players, particularly Rudiger I was unhappy with. But Rudiger out there yesterday, he wouldn't have made any difference to that side. Wouldn't have made any difference. Koulibaly has been very disappointing. Very disappointing. I rate him so highly as a central defender. Yes, he's rash at times, but he's making mistakes he wouldn't normally make, and I don't know why. Remember Rudiger when he went through that patch? I mean, under Frank, it was Koulibaly plus, wasn't it? Under Frank, Rudiger always had a mistake in him, but under Tuchel, top player. So yeah, lots of things. So the players have gone through that. Probably didn't know if there'd be a club at one point. I know people poo-poo me for saying that, but some esteemed journalists, you know, if you can believe Fabrizio Romano, he says we were sort of a week from the administrators coming in. And so there's been a lot of upheaval, a lot of change. We don't see what goes on behind the scenes. We don't see what players are falling out with other players in the dressing room. Yes, it is a manager's job to sort that out, but can he do that in 9 weeks and no transfer window? Is that reasonable to expect that? I don't think so. Let me know what you think. Genuinely, let me know what you think. The disturbing thing, to be honest, is that 9 weeks in, I can't see how we're even trying to play, what we're trying to achieve, what, you know, because some styles you can see if we're going to be a counter-attacking side. You can see if we're going to play out of a press. You can see if we're going to play a ball over. We tried a bit of everything yesterday. Nothing was consistent. Now, I know Ruben Loftus-Cheek got injured early and then Aspie got injured early. But there was still no style. The subs came on. We looked a little bit more potent, if you like, but wasn't a great deal of difference, let's be honest. But we don't look like we've got any style. Now, I'm prepared to give Potter the benefit of the doubt till the end of the season. And so I can hear some people shouting at the screen saying, Glenn, what sort of Class A drug are you on? But when I think back to Klopp's first season, and I looked it up this morning, they came 8th. And pretty much like us. I'd sometimes look on social media and think we've got the biggest set of cabbages in world football. But looking back, Liverpool were right up there with us. Won't be long before they turn on him, even though he's got such a good track record. It won't be long if he doesn't turn things around, which I think he probably will. He's a good manager. But these managers whose teams play a high pressing game, constantly on the go, have to rebuild that side every 3 or 4 years because players just get worn out and fed up with a high intensity of it. They start picking up more injuries. It's a simple fact. I'm hoping that Potter can show us by the end of the season what he's working towards. It must be tremendously hard with a World Cup in the middle of the season as well. I know it's the same for everyone, but not everyone's joined a club after they've just spent, was it 270 million, and then sacked the manager. I mean, that's the biggest thing for me. I just don't understand the thought process behind that. Unless they were talking to Potter and he brought these in. We're just not where we were. When I look back, you know, I'm thinking of world class. Maybe not quite world class, but just under. You know, your Essians, your Ballocks. Big players who could take a game by a scruff of a neck, pull us over the line. You know, even your Decos and Carvalhos and Desai's, big players who would arguably have got in any side in in the world. You know, Arjen Robben. The other thing, of course, is it shows just how Eden Hazard carried us. It shows just what a great little player he was, because he carried us for 4 or 5 seasons. Because you can trace this decline back to the first time we won the Champions League. If we're talking about going for players at just under the level that we actually need. So yeah, that's where I think we are. I think we've just got to accept that we're not at the races. People are saying, no, that's a small team mentality. No, it's not. I want to win as much as everyone else. Don't forget, I watched absolute pony for years. I supported them through thick and thin. You moan about players. I mean, I'm looking at Mason Mount this morning, getting belters, people wanting him to die, particularly some of our African brothers on there this morning on Twitter, because he's English. It's just racism. I hate seeing that, the same as I hate seeing our black players getting racially abused by right-wing idiots. You know, you moan about players. I moan about Jorginho. But what I think about going on the internet and wanting him dead, I just worry about some of these cabbages' real mentality. Shaking my head. Anyway, I can't make this just about cabbages. We're not good enough. We're not a team. We haven't got leaders. We haven't got anyone really. Even Dave isn't a leader in the same mould as JT or Frank Lampard or Peter Cech or Drogba. And I love Dave, and he does his best. But you know, I'm talking about someone that's got such an aura about them. I reckon when we were under the cosh against, I was watching Joe Cole. When we were under the cosh at Bayern Munich in that final, they came in. They were whacked. They were on their knees. They'd been given such a runaround. JT stood up and said, "Right, you're better than this. You can do this." And Drogba stood up. He went round every single one, looked him in the eyes, and said, "You get that ball to me, and I'll score. We are going to win this. We've been too near too often. And if you don't pull your finger out in the second half, you'll have me to answer to." Now, I don't suppose for a minute he meant he would have them all up against the wall, but that sort of drive. And we had it all around the dressing room. We haven't got that. We got a bunch of young lads who are finding their feet, who are developing their personality, their on-field personality. And I'm sure out of that lot there will be 1 or 2 that come through like that, but at the moment they're not at that stage. So that's where we are. We're not a team. We're not good enough. We've got no playing style or ethos, and it's going to take time. Now, whether it's under Potter, you can sack Potter tomorrow. All these people sack Potter, sack Potter. Potter's only done it at Brighton. Potter's only this. Potter's not dealt with big players. I would love to know who comes in and makes that team any better from day one. I'd love to know. Please tell me, with all the injuries that we've got, who makes that team yesterday with the players you had available, who makes it so much better? It's a quality thing and it's a structure thing. Players don't know what they're doing. Potter has got to start putting that right after the World Cup. Otherwise, if we're still like that in February, I'll be getting on his back. I want to see how we're meant to be playing. But I do feel sorry for him. He's got a squad that's not really a top 4 squad, and a load of players that are not only not quite up to the standard we're going to find the same thing with England. How many players have England got that would get into any other side in the world that people really want? Harry Kane. That's it. I'm not sure if he's world class, but he's not far off it. We've got lots of good players, but no great ones, and that's the problem with Chelsea. Anyway, sorry for rambling on. I've been trying to make some sort of sense of it, and that's what I've come to. So yesterday we had two number 8s, in my opinion, playing as 10s. We had Brozier up front. Felt sorry for Brozier yesterday. He's probably getting pelters. Probably people wanting him sold. Probably people wanting him dead. Felt sorry for Brozier yesterday. Didn't get any service whatsoever. Gave us a good physical presence. Put himself about. 1 weak shot on goal on the turn. He had to try it. Midfield. Kovacic was useless yesterday. I rate Kovacic on his day, but useless yesterday. Lost the ball far too much. Jorginho, and I know people say, oh, you've got a downer on Jorginho. No, I haven't got a downer on him. I think he's a very talented player, and I think in Serie A he'd be marvellous. But at my club, sorry, not for me. Yesterday, 4 balls forward. 2 went to Nick Pope. 1 went out for a goal kick, and the other one went the wrong side of Brozier. Brozier's cutting in, so Jorginho played it on the outside of him. So he had to come back and get the ball, and everything else, everything else was played sideways or backwards. We can turn any attack into a cat on a hot tin roof moment for Edouard Mendy. When you pass it back to him, he looks like he's under pressure. He looks like he's pooing himself. It's a shame because he's a great goalkeeper, but I think there's been so much emphasis on his distribution. I think it's actually affected his confidence. Maybe the World Cup will do him the world of good, because he is a good shot stopper and he is good in the air. Yeah, yesterday, let's just get on with it and get this out of the way, and then let's get on to the World Cup. So let's go to the team. Mendy gets a 6. Couldn't do nothing about the goal. Decent in the air. Distribution, not great. Defence didn't help him out particularly. Jorginho and Cover didn't help him out particularly by giving him terrible balls. But his distribution's not great. At the back of centre-backs, we had Aspie, Chalobah and Koulibaly. Aspie, who had to move out to the right when Ruben Loftus-Cheek got injured at wing back, and Silva came on as a sub. Aspie did okay. He gets a 6. He tried his best. Not the great at dealing with a press, but he got injured and went off at half time. But for the time he was on, he gets a 6. Chalobah gets a 7. Thought Chalobah had a good game again. Lots of good blocks. Good in the air. One of the better players. Has been all season. Koulibaly gets a 5. The funny thing was, he started off really, really well, Koulibaly. I thought he's having a good game. And then with that goal, he's got to do better. First of all, that goal, that was offside. That goal was offside. There's a ball put forward, goes out to the wing, and when it was scored, I thought to myself, VAR is going to take that back to that initial ball forward, because it is part of the build-up play. And no, nothing said. But you watch that original ball that goes out to the right winger, offside, country mile. Koulibaly then lets the ball bounce. I always gone about what you're taught as a 10-year-old. Meet the ball, don't let it bounce. Koulibaly obviously wasn't taught that as a 10-year-old. Let it bounce. That was the initial problem we had, and then he dives in. I don't know what he's doing, but anyway, he gets a 5. Rate him very, very highly, but just not doing it for Chelsea at the moment. Not going to bother. Silva, when he came on, gets a 6.5. Always trying to play it forward, nice and steady. Lewis Hall at the back gets a 6. Got caught out a few times by the press. Was trying to get forward just as he did against Manchester City, but they were doubling up on him. And not his greatest game, but let's hope no one's wishing him harm this morning, because he didn't set the world alight. He's going to be a great player for the future, and gave 100%. I think everyone gave 100% yesterday. That's the one thing that I liked about it. So Pulisic, when he came on, he typical Pulisic. Lots of runs, trying to be positive, but very little movement. Very little movement. Pulisic gets a 6. I would score him, even though he was a sub. In midfield, we had Kovacic and Jorginho, who both get a 4. I thought we were appalling in midfield yesterday. One giving it away too much, and one just giving it away too much, weak in the tackle, and yeah. In front of them, we had our 2 number 10s, who are really number 8s, which is why we had no width and not a lot of creativity. Gallagher unlucky not to score. Good save from Pope, but that was about it. Mason, loads and loads of running that got him absolutely nowhere. No spark at the minute, Mason. Really disappointing. Them two, Mason gets a 5, and Gallagher gets a 6. Up front, Brozier gets a 6.5. Poor lad, run his socks off. Probably getting stick. I've seen stuff in the week. You know, I don't understand. People say, "Oh, you're only supporting him because he's from Cobham." Yeah, I do think there's a real good player in there, and at 21 he's learning the game. It does remind me a lot of Kane in some aspects, a young Kane when he just started. But I think young Kane got a lot more support than our bunch give him. But yeah, yesterday he had nothing, did he? He had nothing to feed off. He was making runs and wasn't getting it. Gave us some physicality, held the ball up okay, won lots in the air, always keeping them on their toes, but just no service. So yeah, Brozier gets a 6.5 from me. And Potter gets a 4. I just don't see what we were trying to do. I honestly don't see what we were trying to do. And I don't even think it's down to the actual team he picked, even though I could see there'd be no width. I think it was just the players don't look like they know what they're doing. So, give him time, I say. Give him time and a transfer window. Let's see what he can do. He needs to clear out a few of them that I don't know who they are, who make it difficult for managers and who are bad influences on the training ground. But he needs to get rid of them and maybe get a couple of quality, dare I say it, world-class or near players in, particularly a defensive midfielder and a creative midfielder. So who should we have? What about a fit Kante from 5 years ago and a Fabregas in his prime? If they're out there, let us know who they are, so we can all have a look at them on YouTube and decide for ourselves. Okay, World Cup. I will be doing a competition vlog, and I'll also be doing a vlog on some of the players that we're looking at for January, so everyone can have a close-up look and see what they think. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Sorry it's a bit of a downer today. We'll be back. Don't worry about it. Chelsea will be back. Up to Chelsea.